Hello, everybody. Brad Johnson here, and welcome to the next episode of the Akashic Intelligence Report. Of course, I apologize not being able to do an episode last week. It was a pretty hectic week, but here we are. Today, I'm looking forward to this episode. Like I said, I'm going to be tuning into the Akashic records as we look at a few topics here on the board and giving some more insight in regards to some popular topics that are happening right now pertaining to current events. So the first thing we're going to be taking a look at is robots and AI. Okay. Now, again, some of you may be aware of this, some of you may not, but the idea of robots becoming part of our society is growing by leaps and bounds. We have many different companies that are already starting to build robots, working with AI. Even Elon Musk says he wants to get billions of robots out in the next few years as well too, to basically have this intense robotic population on the planet. So I wanted to look a little bit more into that. You know, that's a very ambitious goal. Of course, he's the richest man in the world, so he probably could make it happen. But we're going to take a look and see if those particular plans are what's going to happen. And it's nothing against robots. Maybe I wouldn't mind having a robot one of these days. I don't know. But again, there's kind of an agenda here. So we're going to take a look at that and just find out a little bit more about these robots and AI, this whole agenda of why many different corporations all over the world are starting to build these robots, right? Humanoid robots, and there's ones that look like animals, and then there's the cute ones, and there's it's crazy. There's a lot of different varieties of robots being built by a variety of different companies. They're trying to make this the norm with all of these robots coming out. And of course, we can't help but think of something like iRobot or Terminator. You know, is this exactly what's going to happen? Are we going to see, a robotic dystopian future or anything of that nature? That's something we'll be taking a look at here as we look into the collective right now pertaining to robots and AI. So let's go ahead and tune into that now. No, and it is going to go in a little bit more of a different plan than what a lot of these big CEOs and executives want. These robots, they are going to happen, but there's going to be a lot more organization-based qualities of them. This is actually the prelude to the end of money. Not right away, of course, but this is going to lead in time, could be another generation or so, but we're basically seeing the end of the need for money. But we're at a transition of that, okay? Because robots are basically going to be taking over in many different sectors, right? A lot of construction jobs, sewage jobs, education jobs, right? The grunt type of work that humans have been doing for so long, a lot of robots are going to be taking over. Manufacturing, all of it, okay? Robots are primarily going to take it over. And this is why we're seeing these kind of synchronicities of the labor force declining, right? A lot of the entire working force that has been around for decades are now starting to move into states of retirement. And the new generation just doesn't want to work in that way anymore. It's just the idea of the signs of the times, right? We can try and point fingers and blame them and stuff like that, but this is how it's planned. It's not really about them. It's about the grand scheme of things. So are there going to be robots in the future? Yes, of course. Are they going to be taking over a lot of industries? Yes, of course. Is it going to lead to a dystopian future? No, it is not. Okay. So when we're looking at the nature of robots, maybe I'll just draw a funny little robot right here with a square head. Okay. We look at the robots. They are definitely going to be part of society. There are going to be millions of them, maybe hundreds of millions of them, right? So if we actually start looking maybe around the 2030s, we will start seeing a very large robotic population coming upon the planet. But like I said, with so many robots here, it's eliminating the job situation for human beings. Human beings will not need jobs anymore. Right? We're basically phasing out of that. And this, of course, has been one of the concerns in saying, well, when these guys start coming into the picture and they start coming en masse, what's going to happen to the job and labor force? They're going to get it. Simple as that. Humans are not. So with this happening, with the robot agenda taking place, it's basically an end to the job cycle as we know it. It's an end to the labor force as we know it on a collective level. Humans will not need to do this anymore. So what are humans going to do, right? When we have a lot of these robots that are coming into the picture now, and they're being manufactured en masse by a lot of these CEOs and executives in that sense, what is humanity going to be doing, right? What does the big picture look like when it comes to humanity when the robotic future takes place? So let's look at that next. We become a spacefaring civilization. That's what happens. Okay? There's going to be a lot of innovation. There's going to be a lot of creativity to actually turn humankind into a spacefaring civilization. Space is going to be the next step in our development, is actually building things, manufacturing everything. And what is going to happen, especially over these next few decades, again, as we go maybe to about a generation or so ahead, is, like I said, this will not be a part of people's future. Well, Brad, what would happen if we don't have money? Well, look at the Star Trek future, okay? Because this is exactly what is happening, is it's the phasing out of money. Not right away, it's going to be eventual, okay? And that phasing out of money is going to lead to people contributing a lot more because you no longer need to work for a living. Robots are taking care of that, right? There's not going to be any more working for a living, which means humans can tend to the earth, humans can have homes, homes are going to be prefabricated, there's going to be a lot of cooperation and less corporation, okay? So here's the corp, and here's the co-op, okay? This is going to be on the way out. Corporations are going to be a thing of the past. This is why I say people who think that corporations are going to have their hands on the robotic business, maybe for a certain time, but they're all going to get exposed. And I feel like the idea of corporations are going to fall apart. Corporations are not going to be a part of the future of humanity. Corporations are just like the working task forces, right? The workforce. It's going the way of the dinosaur. Corporations will die. As they die, they will become something else. They'll become an organization. They'll become a cooperation. Okay? So there is a cooperation agenda that is going to take place that is going to eventually take the place of corporations. Corporations aren't dying right away, unfortunately. They're still going to be going on for a couple more decades. But as we start to see that, we're seeing how corporations are starting to go like this, and then they're going to go like that, and then there's going to be a rebound, and it's going to be leading into something else. A corporation, organization, new leaders coming forward that are young leaders that actually want to help out the planet. And there will be a wave upon the planet where there will be different countries that will no longer need money because everything's going to be working together through cooperation, through contributionism. Because like I said, robots are going to be taking over the workforce. There's no need to work for a paycheck anymore. This is how I know that we're moving much more deeper into the age of Aquarius. Okay? Because this is an age of Aquarius idea. What is Aquarius? Aquarius is all about free-spiritedness. Okay? It's about being a free spirit. It's about uplifting yourself. It's about new ideas. It's about new innovations. It's the retirement of old things that no longer work. It's the reforming of old things that don't work. And in the next couple of decades, the next generation or so, we are going to see corporations die. We are going to see money die. Okay? Money is not going to be a part of the future. It is going to fade away, but it still needs to go through its transitional steps before that happens. It's not going to happen all at once. This is going to happen through progression. Okay? And that this is something that's been prophesied going back a very long time. There will be no more greed on the planet. The meek will inherit the earth. If the meek inherit the earth, Do you think that really involves money? It doesn't. Okay? So, again, it's still going to be a couple of decades before we see this gone. Still going to be a couple more decades before we see this gone. But this is actually a very wonderful thing. This is leading to the end of the job force. This is the end of working for a living. It's all going to be flushed down the toilet. And it's actually thanks to this. It's actually thanks to the robots that you're actually going to see, yes, a large amount of robots en masse being produced, and they're just going to help with everything, and they don't require paychecks, right? And this is why I say that as they're really going to be taking over pretty much all of the markets, and there's going to be robots involved in every particular type of field of work you can think of, because it's going to happen, there's no need for paychecks. There's no need for income in that way of trying to make a paycheck anymore, right? That is going to be a thing of the past. Now, a lot of us will have a very hard time believing that, but like I said, it's as if I was to go back into the year 2001 and tell people, oh, you know what, when we start going into the early 2020s, the world's going to be shut down for a couple of years because of CV-19. Oh, Brad, you're insane. There's no way that's going to happen. Come on, you're crazy, you're crazy, you're crazy. So if I went back in the early 2000s and started saying that to people, I'd be a loon. I'd be completely out of my mind for saying something like that. Nonetheless, that's what happened. Okay? And this is basically what I'm saying, is probably as we get around into the 2040s, 2050s, around that period, you can say goodbye to money. Oh, come on. Brad, you're nuts. You can't be serious. You're out of your mind. You're a loon. Well, there you go. So like I said, this is going to take a couple more decades before that happens, but it is going to happen. 2040s, 2050s, around there, we are going to say goodbye to this, and we are going to say goodbye to this. Corporations, bye-bye. Money, bye-bye. It's all cooperation. It's all contributionism. It's working together. It's new systems that are being developed where there is no more need for a paycheck, right? If there's any particular type of currency, the currency is based on time. It's the currency to which you are putting an effort into something. It may represent merit, right? So it could represent something else that's taking money's place. Another type of exchange system. I'm not saying that there's not going to be an exchange system. There most definitely will be, but it's not going to come through paper money, and it's not going to come through crypto or digital currency. It's not going to be currency monetary based. It's going to be something else. It's going to be another type of exchange system, right? That everybody can benefit from. There's no more hunger. There's no more poverty. There's no more war. There's none of that. That's the future that I see. Okay? This is a future I've been seeing for quite a long time. So the robotic workforce is really a blessing in disguise. It is going to lead to the genesis, to the end of money, and to the end of corporations. Corporations won't be needed anymore because they can't make money off people because no one's working. And what's happening? It's going to lead to universal income. And that's our next topic. So our next topic will be universal income. So again, like I said, corporations won't be able to leech off people anymore because, like I said, when you're looking at universal income, this is all coming together. It's like the government is actually shaping up and it's actually working for the people, right? And corporations are all about that supply and demand. They're all about trying to leech off people and take their money, right? Rob them of their paychecks and so forth. But when you notice that a lot more people are not working anymore, maybe they're becoming entrepreneurial, maybe they're making their own money in that way, corporations are going to be much more on the decline. And that's what I see in the times ahead, is you're going to see the complete and total declining of corporations, big business, big tech. So a lot of them, well, like I'm not really telling anybody new here, a lot of them are just corrupt to the bone, right? And they're all going to be overhauled. And I feel that the time will come will they be overhauled to the point where they will become some type of organization or organizations, and they will work much more similar to like a nonprofit than the idea of trying to get big bucks. Because as we enter the age of Aquarius, it's not about money anymore. Money is going to be a thing of the past. There is going to be an exchange, but it will not be around dollar bills. Okay? But let's take a look at the transitional time, because this is where we are. We're going through these different markers, these milestones that are in time going to lead to a transition past money into another means of exchange. So let's take a look at universal income, when this is going to be applied. Not just universal income, but also what I've talked about with prosperity programs. I'm not talking about Nasera Gesera, but I'm talking about prosperity programs that can be quite different. Okay, so taking a look at universal income here. Yes, this is something that's going to be introduced to people. I feel it might be introduced country to country. I don't think the whole world is just going to have this shower upon them right away, but it is going to lead country to country. And one of the countries I think that could be doing it first would be USA. Okay. The States, I feel, would probably be the highest candidate for this. Maybe second might be Japan. Okay. Okay, Germany. Possibly Canada. Can't say that for sure. But there's going to be a few countries that are going to move forward with universal income. Okay. And like I said, I would say USA would be the front runner of that. So what does that look like? What does the universal income look like? Is that something that's going to be around Trump's term, for example? I feel it will be, yes. I feel it'll probably be around within the next 2 to 4 years. As there's more transformation that needs to take place, you have to get the riffraff out of these conduits. You have to get the riffraff out of these organizations. You have to get the riffraff out of these systems altogether, because they will sabotage everything, right? So you got to get the rats out of the basement. That's basically, and that's what they're doing right now. They're basically just hiring the exterminators. They're going in and they're exterminating all of these rats in the basement. Okay, they have to go first, and that's probably going to be another year or two of cleanup, right? So we can kind of look at these two brackets here, or these two markers, as cleanup. Okay, so cleaning. Okay, not very good writing there. Okay, and then we're going to start moving much more into a transitional term, where there will be a lot of experts that will start to talk about universal income. Okay, and it will be talked about a lot more. Why would this happen? Who's going to talk about, well, it's just all part of the sign of the times. When the sign of the times happen, the appropriate spokespeople will come into play. And there are going to be a great deal of spokespeople surrounding universal income, not just Elon Musk or Trump or anything of that nature, but others. Others that have a lot of stroke, others that have a large amount of say-so in the world. And they're going to be agreeing about a universal basic income, or just a universal income. It's also going to be, there's also going to be systems that will completely expunge debt. Okay, all kinds. Right, are you saying like my student loans? Yes. Bank loans? Yes. Personal loans? Yes. Mortgages? Eventually? Yes. Okay. All of those are eventually going to be expunged, because we're basically clearing the debt ceiling. Because as you have universal income, the idea of debt is going to be a thing of the past. That's fiat currency. And this is not going to lead to fiat currency. This is going to lead to decentralized currency. Okay? It's going to be decentral. And that's really what we're going to spend probably the next 10, 20 or so years working with, is decentralized currency. Nobody has a hold on your money. Nobody's trying to slip their hand and put some of your money in their pocket anymore. Banks will have to change. I'm not too sure what that even looks like. Maybe it's the idea that banks are just there to hold deposits. I can't say. But there's going to be a lot of change. Like I said, it's more so like decentralized banks or decentralized institutions, or just doing things online, right? Having your own vault, so to speak, having encryptions, so on and so forth. And there has been a lot of mixed reviews about people thinking about cryptocurrency, right? Then come on, guys, that's not real money. Well, the money that's in your pocket isn't real either. So, I mean, you've really just been working with fake money anyways. But the whole idea is that cryptocurrency can be utilized in a certain way that can actually be a type of legal tender for other resources. There can still be a resource-based form of legal tender that could be digitized or digital, okay? Because that's really where we're going. Everything really is just going to be on the digital platforms. Everything is going to be available through computers, AI, etc. It's just where we're going. That's just where the tides are leading us. And a lot of us don't like that because we're part of the old generation that was not raised with that kind of stuff. But it doesn't matter because it doesn't care about how you feel. These are the signs of the times, right? We could be, in a grumpy situation because our beautiful sunny day now starts to end and here comes the night and we can start shouting at the sky. The sky doesn't care about your feelings, okay? It's the same thing with this. It's that again, here's the start of the day, here's high noon, here's sunset, here's the night. You can't change that. Same thing with the signs of the times. You can't change that. This is where we're going as a collective. You can either learn from it, learn to be a part of it, participate with it, maybe even grow exponentially with it, or you can complain and sit in the corner and watch everything go by. Everything about life is about adaptation, change, right? So these are just the signs of the times. Yes, there's going to be robots. Yes, there's going to be AI. Yes, there's going to be universal income. Yes, there's going to be prosperity programs. Yes, there's going to be the end of debt. Yes, there's going to be the end of corruption. No one corrupt will be able to sit at a seat of power ever again. They're done. They're finished. Of course, we'll be getting into the Canadian election here very shortly. But this is what's happening with universal income, with the expunging of debt, okay? And as we continue to move forward, as debt starts to get expunged, we now start to look at how food, clothing, education, housing, etc., is going to be available for pretty much everybody, okay? There's not going to be any more people in poverty. We are going to end the poverty crisis. We are going to end war. Right? It's like the Star Trek future, because that's exactly what's happening here. And I keep saying that because it's the Star Trek future. It is. And I've been saying that for many years. So there's going to be a time where you're going to notice, just through the signs that are ahead, that you're moving into a future that's very much like Star Trek. What does Star Trek talk about? Well, they have no money in their time. There's no war. There's no poverty. There's the end of disease. There's new innovations. There's new technology. And of course, humanity starts exploring the stars. That's what's ahead for us. We become a star-faring civilization. We start meeting our star ancestors. We start talking to off-worlders. They start becoming a lot more transparent. There becomes a first contact. Not right away, but in the times ahead. We start to notice that they're becoming a lot more prevalent on the planet. We've seen so many sightings all over the world with millions of people documenting it, right? And we still don't, whatever, it might be something else. No, that's a prelude to our future, right? Working together with other star civilizations, building a whole new civilization on Earth and beyond. That's where we're going in the next 20, 30 years, okay? That's what's ahead for us. It's a wonderful sign, wonderful time ahead. So like I said, we're going to start seeing everything pertaining to the basic needs of humanity available for everybody, whether they have money or not, okay? Because you have the robot force, okay? And they're able to build everything and anything. And there's going to be a lot more prefabricated units. Like I said, it's going to function through money for a bit longer. And then eventually in time, it's going to turn into something else. What that something else is, I can't say. It could be the idea of exchange systems rather than just an exchange system, right? But there's going to be innovations. Don't underestimate what we are capable of in the future. Human beings have constantly done that, and they've constantly been blown away by when they actually start looking at these things in retrospect of what we've been able to do. Don't underestimate yourselves with what the future can bring for us, okay? Because the future is saying goodbye to money. Goodbye to debt. Goodbye to the workforce. Goodbye to having to earn paychecks. Goodbye to corporations. And into something completely brand new. It's a wonderful idea, right? And like I said, where we are right now, we have a hard time swallowing that down. And I know, I'm probably hearing a lot of you guys, oh, come on, Brad, that's a pipe dream. You can't be serious. Are you on crack or something? What's going on? It's like I said, if I go back in time, the early 2000s, and I tell you guys about COVID-19, hardly any of you would believe me. But it happened, right? So, same thing here. I'm talking about something that's a couple of decades away, and maybe there's some of you that believe me, and I don't really care if you believe me or not, because this is about you looking into yourself and trusting yourself. And there may be those who think I need to be locked up. This guy's a quack. What's going on here? Okay. But that's what I'm getting nonetheless with universal income. So universal income is going to come, I'd say, country by country. It is going to have kind of a slow start, but it's going to build itself up, right? And what does that mean? It's basically that a lot of the leaders of these countries are going to be told to announce the beginning of universal income, because all of the corrupt who have basically stolen trillions and trillions of dollars over the decades are going to have all of that money seized, and you will have trillions and trillions of dollars available to the planet. And those trillions and trillions of dollars can go to every man, woman, and child that exists. Trillions and trillions and trillions. It could be 20 trillion, 30 trillion, $50 trillion. I mean, you think about that. That's a lot of money. And that is going to lead not only into universal income, but that is going to lead into the expunging of debt. The fiat currency system will die. It's already starting to die, right? And it's going to basically have a final nail in the coffin. It will be done. It will be a thing of the past. And then when we have universal income here, like I said, you have prosperity programs, you have free education, right? You'll always have a meal on your plate. You will have a place to live. You will have clothing. You will have everything that represents your basic needs, probably even transportation, right? May be able to get a vehicle for families as well too. Free? Yeah. Okay, so that that sounds like, oh my God, bro, you're like getting me all hyped up here. Are you trying to fill us with hopium here? No, I'm just giving you what I'm reading here. All I'm doing here, guys, is I'm reading this, I'm getting the flow, I'm sharing what I'm getting, right? And that's it. And I'm just giving you the idea, kind of like a scribe who's just writing these things down, and you're reading it. And it's up to you to believe me or not. Like I said, I really don't care if you do or not. This is just what I'm sharing. This is what's coming up, right? Put it on the shelf if you need to, or maybe take what I'm sharing here, look into yourself, and you may be able to resonate and confirm with it yourself. But universal income and prosperity programs, where the whole world now starts to open up, right? Where we're actually going to eventually see, not right away, but in time, borders being taken down, okay? So of course, we're going to see that with the North American Union, with Canada, with the United States, with Mexico, as I've talked about. That is which is much more probable right now. Maybe Greenland as well too. We'll see. I'm not too sure about Greenland. Greenland's kind of iffy. It's kind of 50-50. Actually, I'd say maybe it's more like 60-40. 60 positive that yes, it'll probably become a United States country. All right, so the funny thing is Trump actually was starting to unveil that and saying that he has very clear intentions in buying Greenland. And you have all these people laughing at him, right? They're just laughing their heads off at Trump. Oh my God, this guy's an idiot. This guy's an idiot. But it kind of reminds me of, what is it, that 5 stages of denial, right? Where first they laugh at you, then they start to, I can't remember the whole flow of it, right? They laugh at you, they deny you, they attack you, they're afraid of you, and then they accept, however it goes. I'm not too sure of the flow. But it kind of reminds me of those 5 stages of denial, right? And that's what they do first, is they laugh. I'm like, you guys kind of are following these stages of denial, you know what? So I think it's about a good 60% chance of seeing Greenland as part of the United States. I think it's going to happen. Even the Greenlandians, I don't know if you call them that, whatever, are actually very much in support of Trump's idea. And they just, I don't know. I'm not going to get so much into it, but there's so much denial there. It's kind of funny. All right. So anyways, that is the universal income. That is the prosperity programs. Like I said, it is not Nasera Gesera. I don't think that thing's ever going to come into the light, but its spirit certainly will be, right? Where the idea, I think people are thinking that, we're going to be millionaires. As soon as we get universal income, we're going to be millionaires. I don't think you're going to be millionaires, but I think it won't be uncommon for you to make maybe about 5 or 6 figures. Okay, I think maybe you could be within the higher thousands, or maybe 100 thousands. Okay, that could be very possible. Millions, I wouldn't hang my hat on that. There's a slight possibility, but I think the majority is actually looking into the 5 or 6 figure income for a family to start. Okay, but if it's in the 5, it's probably around maybe the 80,000 plus. Okay, around there. Maybe not right away, but in time, it will be something that will be decent for people to actually live off of, because people are making a lot less than that and they're barely surviving as it is. And inflation, of course, will be a thing of the past. Inflation probably is going to be dying out here in the next year or two. Okay, I don't see inflation sticking around. Next 1-2 years, it'll be done. There will be no more inflation on the planet. That will start to die. And like I said, inflation is just another engineering tactic. It is a monetary engineering tactic created by those particular cabals to try and just squeeze as much of the money out of people as possible. But as they are dying out, they're being hunted down like rats right now. Right? I'm not sure if you guys are aware of that. Basically, all of these cabal members are being hunted down en masse and taken out. Like I said, the exterminators have already arrived in the basement. They are taking out the rats and the cockroaches. And they're doing a very efficient job of it. They're done. So let's go ahead and move on to past universal income. We're going to look into the Canadian election next. Okay, so next, let's take a look at the Canadian election. Right, I have talked about the German election as well too on my webcasts, where people have asked, we're not too sure if there's going to be an election this year or not. As I looked into it, I said, no, you guys still have an election coming. And better times are coming from Germany as well too. Okay, better times are coming ahead for that country. So let's go ahead and take a look at Canada, my own home country, and see what is ahead for the Canadian election. So of course, we have Pierre Poilievre, and I'll just refer to him as PP. Okay. Then we have the other guy. We have Mark Carney. Okay. And this guy, with all respect, this guy is worse than Trudeau. Okay. If we were actually to look at the brains of a lot of the operations pertaining to the Liberal Party, this guy was the head honcho. Okay. Him. Not Trudeau. Trudeau's basically a puppet. Okay, he was bad. He was horrible, but this guy is excessively horrible. This guy's a banker. Okay, this guy is very much in cahoots with Mr. Epstein. This guy is very much in cahoots with loving that island. So for those particular weird Canadians, unfortunately, a lot of them who are brainwashed, you are basically trying to vote for a pedo. That's what you're voting for. You are voting for a central banker. You are voting for probably someone who's more of an obsessive liar than Kamala Harris was, or Joe Biden was. Okay? This guy could take those two to school to teach them how to lie horribly. And I've watched a lot of his campaigns. Every word that basically comes out of his mouth is a bold-faced lie. He is a pathological liar. He is a pedo. Okay? He was good buddies with Mr. Epstein. He visited that island multitude of times. So why are there people getting behind this guy? And how many Canadians were trashing the Liberals when Trudeau was there? Pretty much most of the population. But this is how they work, and this is how you know you have somebody really devious here, because they pull at your heartstrings, right? They work Jedi mind tricks, and they take advantage of their programming. His strategy is, Trudeau did all that stuff, I'm not going to, right? It was Trudeau's plans to do bullshit. Everything that represents the foulness of the Liberal Party is on this guy's head. Not even Trudeau's. This guy is the brains of the operation. He is by far the most corrupt, the most scandalous, the most pathological lying pedo Canada has ever seen. And that's who people are trying to get behind. But like I said, it's entertaining. He basically already has his tower moment. Okay? So again, we're looking at the tower here, or the rook, right? And here's the lightning. Here's the lightning coming crashing down, just setting it ablaze. And we're seeing that. We're going to see that a lot more in April as well, too, where he feels like he's neck and neck with Pierre. No, he's not. He's not even close. But they're making it out to see that that's what's happening, right? Thinking that here's PP right here, and here's Carney. He's pretty close. No, he's not. It's the same thing they did with Harris. It's the same thing they've done with Biden, right? It's all these different. It's the same ridiculous, idiotic, mind programming, brainwashing game, three-ring circus bullshit that's been happening for decades. Right? It's no different. There's nothing about this that's original. There's nothing about this that's unique. Right? It's the corporate machine getting behind their corporate leader, getting behind their corporate chosen one, and just trying to make him feel like he's such a good guy. I'm going to cancel the carbon tax. You were the guys that created it in the first place. And, even when we look at Christopher Freeland and what happened with her, how she basically got thrown under the bus, and the person who threw her under the bus the most was Mark Carney, even more than Trudeau did. So there you have it. This guy is the epitome of everything that represents the cabal. This guy is the epitome of everything that represents darkness. He is the epitome of everything that represents ignorance, brainwashing, corporate corruption, a central banker, in cahoots with the WEF, good buddies with Mr. Epstein, a well-known pedo. And so for those of you Canadians who are watching, who are thinking of voting for these guys, for this guy here, right? These guys being the Liberal Party, but primarily Mr. MC here, you need to take a really hard, long look at yourself in a mirror. If you think in any way you want to support a criminal like that. Okay? Oh, but Brad, what about PP? What about PP? And I'm not trying to defend politics here because I'm looking at it from a neutral perspective. All right? I think there's still some more things that this guy could do that could be even better. Yes, no doubt about that. I think there's things that he could bring to the table that could be even better from what he's proposing, right? But his heart's in the right place. And that's what I'll say about PP, okay? Could he be doing things that are better? Yes. Could he be bringing about more information, more plans that could be even greater for Canadians, that could actually come together? I'm not too sure if he's holding it in the wings and wants to bring them out later. Yes, he certainly could. He could basically pull kind of like what Trump is doing and create like a Canadian academy that's free education. I don't know if he's going to do that. He could have the power to completely terminate the income tax altogether because Canada would be able to prosper without it. All he's doing is basically cutting out 15%. I mean, that's a step in a good direction, but I think he could be doing a lot more than what he said he's doing. Is he the greatest candidate? Not really, but he is a hell of a lot better than this guy. So like I said, it's a three-ring circus once again, but again, as I'm looking into the Akasha here between Mr. PP and Mr. MC, yeah, I'm seeing this. I'm seeing Pierre Poilievre getting his hand raised. Okay? So I see him getting it, and like I said, I'm hoping he's very open to people, and he's listening to people, and he's actually looking to improve his plans altogether, because I think there's a lot of plans that he's looking to bring out that could be a lot better than what he's sharing, okay? But like I said, it's politics, and I'm not a politician, so never will be. No, thank you. But that's where I feel is going to be getting it. MC, like I said, if he did have a big run in that way, he's about to be exposed horribly. There's a lot of talk right now as well, too. I think Alex Jones is talking about this, where there's going to be like 14,000 terabytes of data dumps that are going to come in pertaining to Epstein and the island, right? And this guy will definitely be caught in the middle of it. Okay, he's one of the worst. Okay, so by all means, do not let this person in. Right, Canada will be dead if you let this person in. And I mean that literally. Canada will die. It'll become China. It'll basically become Canada, basically. And it was already starting to get into that direction anyways. But with this guy expunged, taken out of the picture, PP, I feel is going to be the guy. That's who I see getting his hand raised. At the end, he's going to be the one that gets the vote, okay? But like I said, it's not about politics, right? It's about ourselves. We are the ones that put these leaders in power. We are the ones that support these leaders. The true power has always come from the people, right? Because all of this is just a three-ring circus, as I've talked about. None of this shit is real. This is the corporate game. This is the chess game, but it's in a way being used to measure the type of collective consciousness. And that's what I see. When I see elections, I see graphs. I'm not talking about polls on predetermined leaders. I'm talking about polls to where people stand, right? How they react to these particular leaders when they're actually able to see through them, when they're able to discern them. And the good news is the majority of customers, well, they are customers in a way, majority of Canadians see through this douchebag here. Okay, no offense, but yeah, gotta call a spade a spade. So basically, Mark Carney is going to have everything just blow up in his face, right? We're seeing a tower moment here with him. Everything that he thinks he thinks he's on top of the world right now. He thinks he's going to get this. He thinks it's in the bag. There's that lightning strike that hits his tower. Everything comes crumbling down. Hardly anybody wants anything to do with him other than his lackeys, and then he falls away, right? So it's exactly as I talked about with Harris and Trump as well too, and I'd say about a 90% chance that Trump will win, and he did, right? And I'd say here, about a 90% chance that Pierre Poilievre will win, and he will, right? So there you go. And if there is any particular type of foul play in mind, of course there probably will be, it'll be looked at, it'll be scrutinized, and even if this guy tries to get in by sneaky ways, it's not going to last, right? So, like I said, to me it feels like Mr. PP is going to take the win, okay? But like I said, it's a three-ring circus, and I look at these to see exactly where people stand, right? What they're looking at. Can they see through the illusion? Can they see through the programs? Can they see through the brainwashing? Looks like a lot of Canadians can. That's good to see. All right, so that's what I can share in regards to the Canadian election.
What do the stars have planned for you? Find out at predictmyastrology.com. Sign up for a free personalized daily Vedic horoscope and see what your cosmic blueprint has in store for you. Order a personal mantra meditation reading to empower your energy. Explore love compatibility readings, get answers with an astrology question report, or dive deep with topic-based insights. Discover what's ahead with your 2025 annual report, or experience the all-in-one deluxe report. Let us predict your astrology. Visit predictmyastrology.com.
Sign up today for a live session with Brad Johnson, or experience a powerful interaction with the multidimensional consciousness, Adronis. Explore Akashic record sessions to look deeper into other lifetimes. Explore the full body scan that analyzes all facets of your multidimensional body. Look into the energy cord attunement that cuts away stagnant tendencies. View our online courses and take part in our weekly Adronis Patreon classes with a free 7-day trial. Book today at wisdomtransmissions.com.
Okay, and our final, and probably the most exciting topic today, is about Giza, pyramid discovery, okay? Just so you guys know, I'm going to Egypt in November of this year, okay? We're going to be doing the Wisdom Transmissions Halls of Amenti tour in Egypt. I'll even put up the image here so you can see it. We still have a few spots available. So if you want to look a lot more deeper into what I'm about to talk about pertaining to the Giza Plateau, come and join me in November, okay? We got maybe about 6-7 spots left. We're nearly full. We're about 3/4 of the way already, which is wonderful. This is by far the one I'm looking forward to the most, right? I've been to South Africa, I've been to the UK, I've been to Bosnia, and now about to go to Egypt, and that is like a childhood dream of mine. I've always wanted to go to Egypt and being able to see the pyramids in person. But we're going to look into that a little bit more about this Giza pyramid discovery. Now, it was actually the event coordinator, Max, who was telling me about this whole situation that was unfolding with Egypt. And I looked at it at first, and I thought it was just a bunch of crap, right? I just thought this, okay, it's probably just some scammer guy, some BS guy who's just trying to make a name for himself, who knows. But then I'm seeing exactly how other people are corroborating this discovery, right? So I was always saying, just be careful with what you see online, right? There's a lot of BSers out there. There's a lot of snake oil salesmen online. You have to be careful with this, because when I first saw it, I wasn't really seeing the evidence of this. I was seeing some screenshots, and the guy was saying that there was documents. Okay, well, show me the documents. And there weren't any, right? But then as the next few days came by, there was more documentation. There's more videos. There's more evidence of this. I said, okay, maybe this is leading to something, because my belief was always that the Giza pyramid, right, the Great Pyramid of Giza, was an octahedron. Okay? But it's not. It's not an octahedron. It is more like an obelisk. Okay, so that was my own error, looking back at that as well too. I also heard other people talking about that, so maybe I befriended their ideas. So. But that's going back many years ago. And so when we look at the Giza pyramid discovery, where we're able to see satellite imagery, radar in that sense, right, advanced, I'm not too sure of all the technology, what they call it, but basically being able to look at the pyramid and seeing that there is a quote-unquote underground city to it. Now, when we look at the pyramid itself, and I'm going to draw out the pyramid here, so it's important that we know this from what I'm going to share with you. Okay, so there's the capstone, or rather lack thereof, and of course you have the four sides of the Great Pyramid of Giza. Okay, and a lot of people will say that this is a five-sided object. It is not. Okay, or rather than it must be an eight-sided object. No, it is not. The Great Pyramid of Giza is a nine-sided object. Okay, so yes, you have the four face surfaces here. You have the capstone here, which is 5, and then you have these indents. You have these indents near around the bottom of the pyramid, and it's very, very difficult to see this. You basically have to have a sky view to look at these indents around the pyramid, and those indents are necessary to calibrate the pyramid to generate source center vibration. Okay, this is actually what's taught quite commonly in biogeometry, is saying that the pyramid is actually a nine-sided object. Okay, and then as they do the scans below, and if we look at the pyramid here, then we see these columns coming down, and it was believed to say that there was about 8 columns. So I'm just going to draw out some here. And that each of these columns basically has a clockwise spiral that's moving up each column. Okay, so each one of those have it. It's a clockwise spiral that moves up, kind of like a staircase, where they would actually be able to walk up these. It's a heck of a climb, but they'd be able to walk up these particular pillars. So we could say that the entrance was far greater down below here. It's because these pyramids were not built when there was a desert. These pyramids were built when there was a lush forest. Okay, so that's basically telling us how much sand is covering the surface here, because you have about over 2,000 feet of the Great Pyramid of Giza covered in sand. It was not like that. This is something that was built when Egypt was lush and green, when it was a forest, okay? Pre-Atlantean disaster. This is why I would say that the Great Pyramid of Giza is at least 20,000 years old, okay? It was around the time when Atlantis was flourishing, okay? So you have all of this sand covering so much of the pyramid, again, over 2,000 feet, because you have all these big columns here, and that this could lead to perhaps an entranceway. Maybe there's an arc down here, for instance. Okay, but of course, all of these structures, these columns, are connected to cubes, okay? And so those cubes may also have, maybe there's a sign of an entrance that is existing over 2,000 feet below, because of course you look at the pyramid from the surface, there's no way to get inside of it. You can't get in it. It's completely blocked off. This is why they had to dynamite their way in, going back several decades to try and get into the pyramid to find out what's going on there. They had to blow a hole into the pyramid to do that, right? But this again, all of this sand should not be here. This is the sign of a disaster. This is the Atlantean disaster. This is that great flood. This is the Younger Dryas. This is why every single civilization on the planet has had their flood stories, right? But what happened with the fall of Atlantis was not just a flood, okay? It was a wall of mud and water coming together. It's like the entire bedrock of the Atlantic was coming up. It was a horrible sight. Just looking at that, you'd probably be looking at tidal waves that are over 1,000 feet tall. Insanity, okay? And even all of Africa was lush and green and beautiful, okay? Everywhere where you see Africa today, where there is deserts, that's part of the Atlantean disaster, okay? Any particular area of the planet that has desert went through a disaster. Basically, something like that. So again, we have deserts around western areas of the United States, okay? And there could have been a Lemurian disaster, a Mu disaster, right? Where again, we got hit with a wall of mud that became all of the sand that originally belonged to the bottom of the sea. So this is telling us that, yes, there is a lot more to this, and it's kind of obvious. Like I said, I was originally seeing it as an octahedron. But being able to see these columns, one of the very interesting things I want to point out, because nobody's talked about this, why are there spirals of clockwise, you could say staircases in that way? Why is that there on all the columns? Because this is not just a simple staircase that people are ascending. This is 2,000 feet. That's a hell of a climb for one, okay? But there's a lot more of a science to this, and you may want to think of the idea of a Tesla coil, okay? Because what's happening is that the pyramid here is an astral antenna. It is receiving that cosmic radiation because a pyramid is an energy generator, okay? All of that energy moves through the pyramid kind of like a tuning fork, and it's vibrating. The entire structure is vibrating, and it starts vibrating these coils. Okay. When there is a clockwise spiral, that clockwise spiral actually moves downwards, okay, not upwards. If you want something that moves upwards, you would use a counterclockwise spiral, okay? So something like this. But that's not what's being shown here. It's being shown that it's moving downwards, okay? This is a coil. This is a coil instrument, like a Tesla coil. And you have all of that radiation vibrating these columns and therefore inputting it directly into these boxes. And people will say, why cubes? Have you guys ever put a tuning fork into its box and then you start hitting it and you see how the sound travels? Well, that's exactly what this is, okay? It's an obelisk, yes, but there's a lot more to it than that. Take a tuning fork, put it in a box, start hitting it. See how the sound reverberates around the entire space. That's exactly what this is doing. This is becoming a resonator. It's getting all that power from the ether. It's moving all the way down the columns here that are clockwise, that are moving downwards. And this is like Kundalini. This is basically Kundalini for the Gaia Plateau, right? So you have all of these boxes that are containing these columns, and like I said, it's like a tuning fork in a box. You hit the tuning fork, and the energy just radiates, okay? So this is actually harmonizing the entire land. This spreads out, right? The entire Giza Plateau, and we would have to do scientific information to find out exactly how far that would spread out. But it wouldn't surprise me if that's covering all of Egypt, right? And therefore you have technology that works together with harnessing tectonic energy, and you have free energy all throughout the entire country of Egypt, right? If this was still active. Can't say if it still is or not. I'd have to be there and tune into it. But basically, that is exactly how they built this in the old days. It's a giant obelisk. It's a giant tuning fork in a box. It's a Tesla coil, right? And it's generating all this free power through the ether, because this is an astral antenna. It's right at the king's chamber, right where the resonance is the most powerful. The pyramid itself is vibrating subtly. These coils are sending all of that energy down to these boxes, and those boxes are acting as amplifiers, and those amplifiers are just filling the entire land. You could be almost an immortal living in Egypt if this was active, and as powerful as it is, from what we understand as the geometry, you could live a very, very, very long time with this active, because that's the power it brings. It's creating this magnetic field, right? So again, what we're looking at here is the toroid. Okay, and of course, we have the hyperboloid here, we have the torus here. That's exactly what this is generating. You're looking at a powerful hyperturcoid. You're looking at a toroidal field that could just expand possibly even the entire length of Egypt. And you're getting such powerful vibrations off this. This is a age-reversing technology. This is a power technology for technology that can tune into the tectonics of the planet and actually starting to channel that power into themselves. You would get unlimited electricity from this, and that would change the face of the entire planet. That's exactly what was built. And no, you are not going to have the Egyptians on their own developing this. This is Atlantean technology. This is extraterrestrial technology. This is something that was passed down to humanity. This is part of the ancient knowledge right here. You're not just going to think about this out of the blue. It has to be given to you. Okay? So let's do one final scan here about the discovery with Giza. Okay, like what is this going to lead to? What do we see ahead for this discovery? Okay, it's going to rewrite everything, right? So I think we're going to start seeing the old, ridiculous, stupid archaeological literature tossed in the garbage where it belongs. Because I would just overhear a lot of what these tour guides and archaeologists are saying about Giza, and they are the stupidest theories I've ever heard in my entire life. Oh, you know what? The Egyptians, they imported lumber from Europe, and that they would ride these logs over the Nile River, and then they would lift them up and bring them close to the Giza Plateau. Really? Lumber. You're talking about just giant logs of trees, and you're just going to be pushing that up a hill? All right, archaeologists, I want you to put your pens and papers down right now. Here's a bunch of logs over here. I want you all to gather around, and I want you to push these logs, and we're about 10 miles, for example, from Giza Plateau. I want you to go ahead, and I want you to push that right now. Right? We got about 100 archaeologists right here. Go ahead. You go ahead and you move those logs. Go for it. Oh, but they use vine ropes. Oh, okay, no problem. Here's some vine ropes for you. Go ahead and use vine ropes. Do it. I'll sit here and cheer you on. I'll have my pom-poms. I'll cheer you around like a cheerleader. Okay? You go ahead and you do that. Well, they cut things with hardened copper tools. Oh, okay, well, let's go. Let's you see and try and do that. What was the alchemy that they did to make that happen? Oh, we don't know, but then why are you saying that? This is the stupid way of garbage, idiotic science that we have been exposed to for thousands of years. Complete and total idiocy. And just saying that, yeah, a bunch of slaves just got together. They imported wood from Europe, again, putting it across the Nile and then just lifting it up, right? And then you have stones that are in excess of 1,000 tons. And what, they just lugged it up and just say, here you go, catch this one. And you throw it up in the air and they catch it? I mean, you got a pyramid that's nearly 500 feet tall. So they just lugged up 1,000-ton stone like it was nothing? Or 100-ton stone, or 20-ton stone, or 20. You guys go ahead and you try and do that. You try to use your vine ropes and your logs and your hardened copper tools stupidness to the nth degree. Okay? So this, like I said, is going to change the entire literature. In fact, we are going to start basing technologies on this. This is the wonderful thing. This is something for the future. This is something that is going to change everything. And it's now time for what Giza is all about. The Giza Plateau, what it truly means, its true technology. It is going to take a few decades for them to try and figure these things out. And I hope they got some really brilliant minds there that start to think in the way that Tesla did. And if you have someone who thinks in the way of Tesla when it comes to this, I'm not talking about the stupid car company. I'm talking about Nikola Tesla himself. Okay? So when you have someone like that who's on those teams, then you're going to make some progress. But just don't bring any scientists who are completely inappropriately educated for this, right? Bring the brilliant people here, and let's start seeing this technology unfold into something beautiful and brilliant, because this is the way to the future. What we see now in the Giza Plateau, what we now start to see, I think we'll probably start seeing a lot more excavations in the times ahead once we get the riffraff out of the way, and we're going to start seeing exactly what this pyramid truly represents and studying it and comparing it to how Nikola Tesla was getting all of this right? And start utilizing this tuning fork in a box, obelisk, as a powerful technology that we have the power to duplicate and put all over the world, and that ends everything pertaining to energy crisis. You use something like this, and this can just basically fill the entire countryside, might even go beyond that, right? Who can say how powerful these boxes are? I'm getting that they're very, very powerful. They could definitely fill the entire country with these subtle vibrational tectonic energy, right? And then you have particular technologies that capture that energy, okay? And then you are able to power homes all through the subtle energy of the universe. It's like 0 point. It's brilliant. All right, everybody, we need to stop there because I'm running a little bit long here today for this episode. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm looking forward to the next week's episode. We will have more exciting discussions, more exciting topics to look into through the Akashic Records. This has been the Akashic Intelligence Report. I'm Brad Johnson, and I'll speak to you again in another perspective of the now. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Be well, educate yourself. Truth is within. Take care. Bye for now.
Let me hear the wisdom transmissions. The wisdom transmissions. So many voices, so many interpretations.